Welcome back to Today's Booked. It's your host, Chelle, back with Whitley for part 2 of Iron Flame.
Here we are, back at it.
I don't even know if I want to be back right now.
Because you're finally at the end.
Yeah, I'm at the end, and let's just
It's
say,
a shit show.
I just want to go straight into Iron Flame part 2. Like, we're not doing what we usually do. We're just diving in. We're just going to dive in because
we're doing it. Because we got a lot to cover, right?
we do have a lot to cover, and I am just so unwell right now. I'm not happy.
So I just want to tell the listeners that Chelle, again, did this in the last minute. She just finished this book. I've been waiting, TikToking for her. So here we are. She's going to be stressed again because she can't even fathom what just happened in her head.
I would like to fall off the parapet. I don't even think I'll read another fantasy romance book ever again. This is it for me.
Don't say that.
Jesus, take the wheel. I'm done. I'm done.
Don't say it because it's only going to get better. It has to get better.
I don't believe so.
It has to. There's 3 more books to come.
3?
3. This is a 5-book series. You just read
Jesus,
number 2.
take the wheel.
Right?
I'm not even ready for Onyx Storm. I wasn't even ready for this. I'm unwell.
Welcome to the club of the Iron Flame Hangover.
I don't even know if I can record. I just am distraught. I don't even know what I'm distraught about.
Buckle up, Buttercup. You already know what you're distraught about. Excited.
Yes. Okay, so let's just start.
Okay. So one thing we didn't talk about last time. So Kat.
Yeah, we need to talk about Kat because I definitely forgot to bring her up for part 1 because part 1 I was overwhelmed like I am now. But so Kat is just a beautiful, stunning goddess.
Griffin Ryder, who is Xaden's ex-fiance.
Yeah, what?
And why is she going to be so hateful?
Just because her and Xaden weren't compatible.
Yeah.
That's her problem.
Not Violet's, not Xaden's. Sorry didn't work out.
You snooze, you lose.
Sorry, not sorry.
Dude, when she was getting into Violet's head, okay, let's not get ahead. I'm not going to get ahead of myself this time.
So we're just bringing up the topic that she is here, she was here, and we forgot to talk about her, but she will come into play a little bit later.
Yes, I did forget about her in part 1. Low-key. Oops.
But she was like little in part 1.
Yeah, but now she's a significant character in part 2.
Significant.
Let's just start. So this is... Okay, so they are going back to Eurasia with all
the people that basically said yes
and the dragons.
in it.
Yeah, that wanted to leave Basgiath because they were like, you effed us over.
Fuck no, we're out.
Yeah. And then they're in Eurasia. Violet's having those violent dreams of Sage.
Can we talk about those dreams?
Wild.
Okay, because so they're wild, but it's wild that Xaden also has the same dreams. Don't you think?
Yes, but we didn't find out until later.
Yes. And so it's interesting because, and that Sage person, which I'll probably bring up later, like for my theories part, it's just, it means something big that we obviously don't know, but it's just a very interesting dynamic.
That was scary. And then... So they're in Eurasia. Xaden and Violet meet with Brennan to connect with the assembly, and the assembly is freaking out because they're like, you exposed everything that we've been working for. And then Xaden presents the journal that they got from Basgiath,
which they basically figure out that they are like, okay, we gotta interpret this, or what's the word? Is it translate this.
Translate it.
Figure out how to do these to raise these wards.
Right, because in Eurasia, they have no wards, no forge. They're not safe. So, and we also find out that Xaden is actually the 7th member in the assembly.
Yeah, there's another scene, which my favorite quote of the book, which we can talk about later when we get there.
Okay.
But
and then in that chapter, Darna finally wakes from her dreamless sleep.
But poor little girl's left wing is just not about it. How terrible.
Yeah, so then we find out that her growth process was kind of like stunted from where were they flying from? Resin when that happened. And then we find out that she's never going to be able to bear a rider. And I was just like, okay, so what is the point? Because she can't stop time anymore.
But she hasn't, but technically Violet hasn't gotten her signet from her yet. Well, that we know of.
Yeah.
So, I think Andarna plays a huge pivotal role in this. She's going to be big in the next book or in the future books. I don't know if it's going to be Onyx Storm, but she is a big character because she had this she had this massive progression from when she was this little golden feather tail, and then she slept all this book basically, but she was still there. And then she comes out and she's a 7th grade dragon. That's like crazy. Anyways, we would talk about that then too. But
I know.
She's a big one.
I just hope her character develops more in Onyx Storm. Like, I want more of Andarna. I just love her.
Yeah, I think she will.
She's so funny. She's so cute. Just a little sassy Todd.
We love her.
And then Mira and other riders from Samara arrive in Erasia. And freaking Mira finds out Brennan is alive.
How funny
and that
was
was wild because she punched him right in the nose.
I loved that. I thought that was so hilarious.
It was. There were actually some funny parts in this book. Like, I was chuckling.
And Violet was sitting there like, all right, let me just let this play out.
Yeah. And then Violet is playing the blame game on herself about Andarna and then exposing Erasia and bringing all these writers to Erasia.
Mm-hmm. But you were right. Remember I asked you last episode like what your prediction was, and you're like, I think they're gonna go on like and make a college out of Erasia or whatever you said.
Yeah.
You're right. They literally do that. And I was like sitting there like,
I don't know. We'll find out.
But yes, and you're like, Mira better come. She came. She comes. Everybody comes.
Yeah, and she's not dead.
No, thank God.
She's still alive.
For now.
Okay, and then what's happening? So they start going to, what's it called? Battle Brief, doing all the things, doing college.
Yeah, they start trying to figure out, but like still trying to figure out how to translate this book, this journal, to raise the words. And then the rune thing, like those are crazy.
I know. I was just like, this is too much. Too much, and I don't have my Venn diagram ready. I don't, as you can see.
You should have freaking gotten a whiteboard.
No, I didn't even have the time for a whiteboard, Whitley.
Excuse me. Well, yeah, sorry, because you finished literally right before this.
Shut up. At least I finished it, okay? At least I finished it.
It is June 5th. Excuse me. What are you doing? Where's your routine? You're 5 days in.
It's going well.
Your routine?
I finished the book.
Okay.
And what were we even talking about?
I must have jumped ahead with the runes. I jumped ahead with that.
I think we were talking about...
But she starts to work on her powers, and she gets the conduit to basically control her powers because her emotions get the best of her, and she can't like focus her powers, I guess, without that.
Yes.
Violet and Mira basically make that secret mission, right, without Zayden knowing.
Yeah. So, Mira, Violet, and Brennan go to Corden to meet the Viscount Takaras to acquire the luminary that's needed to power the forges to defeat Venin, and Zayden is there. Like, what are you doing? And then it's just like this beautiful palace, and Kat's there, and Serena
dressing her in all these like beautiful gowns, and she has to basically show off her lightning, and
and then a freaking Venin jumps out of the armoire. Why is it always an armoire?
I don't know, but that's a special box to Zayden.
Yeah,
remember that?
It was his father's.
Yeah, well, it was like something that he acquired because it was like a unique thing, whatever, and he used it for her to strike, basically saying like "fuck you, Zayden," which is terrible. But then a Venin pops out, and you're like, "Holy shit!" And then this huge battle happens. They almost die.
What the heck? And I'm like, did Dakaras do that? Or
yes.
What?
He was basically trying to
testing.
I think he was testing her to see if she was even valuable in this whole little war.
Yeah.
If she was worth it. Right. And then obviously he wants Luminary.
Right.
And then
This
he's like,
it just has
take my
too
people
much.
back. I know. He's like, take my people back. Keep them, use them, whatever.
Right.
And then
And he has to keep Kat and Serena safe.
Mhm.
So that happened.
And then they basically make the trek to go back to Eurasia.
Mm-hmm.
That is when they have to do that climb up that cliff, and some of the
The
dragon
runes, the Tirish rune.
is that what they're called? The rune?
Oh no, wait. I think
No,
they
the
skipped a
rune.
part
How?
because Felix. So Felix is the one that trains. He's an assembly member, and he's training Violet to wield lightning with precision because.
The conduit. I said that.
But did you talk about wielding with
No,
precision?
go ahead.
Yeah, because what's his face didn't teach her that at Baskaya. What was his name?
Professor Carr.
Yeah, Professor
Mhm.
Carr, that loser. Also, where was he at when we were in Baskaya fighting the war?
Being a cunt. I mean, let's be honest. Obviously, he wasn't a big pivotal person.
Yeah. So then they're at the palace, and that's when Violet finds out that Catriona.
Look at me winning the pronunciation here.
Catriona is the Viscount's niece, and that Xaden has a room at the palace.
And they were betrothed.
Yeah, and Kat was. Well, you can just tell Kat is very envious of Xaden and Violet's relationship because she was just
A bitch
running
right
off
from
at
the
the mouth
beginning.
at Violet.
Yeah.
And then we find out that Xaden's like, I've only used my.
Yes, it said. I forgot about that, but it's true. He does say that. He's like, only you,
Yeah.
special. Got the.
And she was like,
whatever you did.
oh, and so Kat's power or whatever is she can heighten people's emotions.
But we don't find that out until later.
Yeah,
right?
but it was happening in that part because she was intensifying Violet's feelings, and then that all happened before because then they're taken because he's like, oh, we have to eat dinner before.
Yes.
And then that's when he takes them to the arena, the stone arena, and she's got to destroy the metal chest. Then the venom pops out, and then
that shit show happens.
Yeah, a shit show. And Violet is forced to face the venom alone.
I know. Like, what? And they just, like, sat there. But then, thankfully, Taryn was like, help is coming. But obviously, she doesn't need help because she's a badass and she does it on her own. And with Mira, of course.
Yeah, I forgot Mira was there.
Because she uses her little shielding thing.
Yeah. And Violet electrocutes the whole field.
She said, fuck you.
Yeah. And saved herself.
I mean, what you gonna do in that scenario? Let's be honest.
Yeah. And so then that's when Takaras is like, I'll give you the luminary only if you take the flyers and the griffin
riders.
Or the griffin flyers? What are their little things called?
Griffins are their dragons. And then they, instead of calling riders, they're called flyers.
Okay, so they have to take the griffin flyers with them to Eurasia. Where they have to fight alongside the riders and the dragons.
Yep.
And oh my god, there's just so much that freaking happens in this book. I don't even know what to talk about.
I feel like this is kind of like when this like scene happens or chapter, whatever, I feel like this is when like things really shift. Because then the Griffin people come back with them. They have their trek. Obviously things happen in the meantime, but then they go back and then like kind of like, I don't want to say life goes on, but more extreme. Because obviously they're people and they're figuring it out, and then like shit hits the fan.
Right, because they're at odds with each other.
Yeah, because they're like, are you our allies or are you like not? And obviously Kat is basically a bitch on wheels the whole time.
Yeah, and then they have to go navigate the cliffs.
So there's
too many places too. I'm like,
dude,
what the freak? What the freak? I'm never reading another fantasy series again in my life. I'm not even kidding.
Yes,
so
you are.
You wanted me to enter Sarah J. Maas's world? Not happening. It's not happening. I'm out. I'm finishing this 5-book series from
Imperium
Rebecca
series.
Yarros, Imperium,
Mm-hmm.
and then I'm done. I'm
Don't say
done.
that.
It's too much. No, it's too much. It's just not my cup of tea. It's not.
But you love Zayden, and you
But
love
I love
Taryn,
Zayden.
and you love Indarna.
Yeah, so this is the only series that I F with.
Fine.
I won't be reading any
I
other fantasy romance books.
at least I got you here. That's all I gotta
Yep,
say.
and this is where I'm staying.
And then Onyx will come out and you'll be like, I freaking love fantasies.
Well, I told you I'm gonna finish out this series, but I'm not
I
starting
know.
any Sarah J. Maas books. I'm not doing any vampires. I'm not doing any more dragons. I'm not doing any witches. I'm not doing any fairies. I'm not doing anything but Rebecca Yarros.
I actually haven't read any vampires like main books. There are vampires in my book, but not like they're like barely mentioned.
What about that one book that I told you to buy at Target that one time?
Actually, what are we saying? Twilight. Actually, yes, I did buy The Filthy Rich Vampire. I
Yeah,
did buy that. I haven't read it yet, but I did buy that.
Look at you buying a book and not reading it yet.
That's like my whole all my shelves.
I'm just making fun of you because you make fun of me for scrambling.
Well, I gotta finish my book now, and then I gotta read this book club, but I really want to read this First Light Wins because that's my next book to read. Too many books, so little time.
You got that right. You got that right. I'm about to start. Now that I finished this book, I can focus on my romance books now. I'm so excited. Okay.
I can't. Okay, so they have to trek to Aracia, take the trek to Aracia, but
No,
there's this.
it's the Cliffs of Draylor. Because they have to do the 12-hour.
I was getting there.
They have to do the 12-hour ascent.
They have to take the trek, the 12-hour trek, but in that trek, there is a cliff or a mountain or whatever you want to call that's way too high for the griffin riders, for the griffins themselves to fly over. So then that's when they have to basically figure out their whatever, and they have to climb up it, walk up it. So they make the trek, but they basically are like, some of the dragon riders are like, okay, I'm gonna show solidarity and go up with them and make the trek and walk up it instead of using their dragons to fly over. And then as they're making this ascent, Cat's being Cat, a little bitch on wheels, like I said earlier, and she's like, nah, 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 nah. But then shit goes down, and there's like booby traps in the cliff. Remember?
Yeah. Oh, remember that Violet starts befriending Cat's best friend, Marin? Yeah. So they get to their final hour, and the altitude starts affecting the griffins. Yeah, the griffins. And so then they have to act like they're doing that gauntlet challenge and like do some makeshift crap.
And the booby traps too.
Yeah, because some of them are unable to jump the distance. And Violet and Luella, they're the smallest. So they have to come up with an alternative plan, right? And that's when Luella dies.
Basically, she doesn't make it. Who is it? Sawyer or Riddick gets shot with the arrows. One of them does.
Yeah, it was Riddick.
Yeah, Riddick gets shot with the arrows, and basically Violet tries to save Luella and dislocates her shoulder. And like, long story short, she has to let go. She dies, whatever. And Cat blames it on her, and she's like, "What the freak? Like, this is terrible."
Yeah.
And then the freaking wyverns show up and eat her. Take her griffin. How terrible. Because literally she just died and the griffin's like mourning and then he dies. It's terrible.
And then Violet rides Taryn and strikes lightning, killing all the wyvern. So yay, Violet, saving the day again. I'm so sick of these wyvern. I'm so sick of this venom. I'm over it.
I think you're taking your feelings out of what just happened on this entire book.
I mean, I still liked the book, but I just am like, when I really think about it, it's just too much at the end of the day. She's talking about a lot of different places. Like, I don't even remember the names. Aracia, Basquiat, freaking the Cliffs of Draylor, this place where Rhiannon's family is. I just am like, how am I going to remember all this?
It's actually funny because, well, she said in a interview that she was going to make this 2 books, because there was so much going on. And I guess I don't know who decided that it was going to she should break it in 2 parts.
Well, I'm glad they did that, but part 2 was WTF.
It really no. When I was reading the last, like, I don't know, is it like 8 or 10 chapters? I don't know. Maybe 8 or whatever. I was like reading so fast because so much was happening, and I was like, I need to know what's happening next. Like, I need to know, oh my God, what's going on. I was like, holy shit, what did I just read? Did I just miss like everything I needed that was important? Yes, probably.
Yeah. Then that happens.
They get back.
There's new dragons in Erasia. Like, what the freak? Where'd these new dragons come from? And, well, I don't even know. Whatever. And then Venin are coming to the city for about. I just am like, okay, is the Venin bad? Is the Venin good? What the?
The Venin are bad. They're bad.
Okay, so why are they using it as a power source? I just am so confused. I'm so confused. I need to go to an Arn Flame study group. I don't know.
That's why I have done so many, after I finished the book, I watched so many interviews. There's a really good interview, I have to send it to you, of Rebecca Yarros with a bunch of people. I forget it, but it's really good, and she talks a lot about things of this book, and it really helps like kind of bring it all together, understand it in a way, and why it was the way it was. It's really good, but I went down that rabbit hole.
Yeah, I was just really questioning my intelligence. I'm like, am I dumb? What the heck? Felt like I was in a history class or something, and I'm like, I'm gonna fail this test. I'm gonna fail it.
It's so funny because I feel like the fact that you just finished, like literally right before we started this, is making you so upset, and you don't know what to do with yourself.
I don't. And I was like, I was getting like choked up at the end, and I was like, you're not crying, you little baby, you're not crying.
Did you cry?
No tears left the eyes, but my eyes were watering. It's that time of the month, so I'm feeling a little bit of emotion.
You got all the emotions.
I got all the emotion.
Okay, let me hone you back in, all right?
Please.
Because they figure that scenario out. We'll say they get back, and basically the Griffin Riders are absorbed into like the college. They have to basically kind of go about normal life, go to classes, do the sparring, whatever. Then they have like new classes because they talk about like making the runes, which is a big thing for holding power, or like having objects hold their power and do special things. So that's a big thing, because that's one thing Violet isn't the best at. Well, I mean, she's not great at everything, but you know, she doesn't do good at that.
Yeah, so magic pulled from their power, talking and like placing it in an object. I'm just like, what the what? Be normal. Angry? I'm getting angry. I'm getting angry. I'm like, what the is going on?
Everything that's happening, you're like, fuck this.
Yeah, I really was. I'm just like, I'm over it.
And guess who's good at it? Not Violet. Kat. Because, of course, she had to rub it in Violet's face. I can't with your attitude.
I have the biggest attitude today just because, like, this book.
I'm dead. Okay.
I don't even know how I feel about. I don't know how I feel.
I told you the hangover is real. And I'll say, I don't know if you watch my stories, but I was doing my notes today, and I was literally reading and remembering it, and I was going back into that phase of that hangover, and I was like, fuck me. Why did I do this? Fuck this book. Fuck everything that happens. Why do I have to wait until January for the next book? Literally. And so it's funny because obviously I finished this book in like January, February, and I talked to other people about it. You didn't know about it. So it's like, I know what you're feeling, but I'm way past that.
Yeah, my head hurt.
You got it. It's okay.
Okay, we got it.
The Griffins get absorbed. They decide that the Griffin Riders get absorbed into the squads. So their squads get absorbed into the Dragon Rider squads. So they basically have to figure out how to play nice with each other.
Yeah, and they go to combat. And freaking Kat challenges Violet. Neither of them. It's like dual competition because guess what? Xaden trained both of them.
And they expect the same things from each other. They use the same things against each other. Except we find out
that freaking Cat is using her power, is taunting Violet with Xaden stuff, like, whatever, I had him first, all this stuff, and heightening Violet's emotions without her knowing, even though they're not allowed to use any weapons or any of their powers. Cat cheated.
Isn't this the time when she says that line, like, that little tongue thing, he did it to me too, or something? Didn't she say
I think
during
so.
this?
I don't know. I
That
think
little-
it was at one point, and I remember Violet brought it up to Xaden, and he was like, honey, you were my first and my last.
But this scene leads into another great scene.
What?
So Xaden basically, somebody calls her out. Who calls her out for using the mind games? Imogen, right?
Well, I don't know, because Violet figured it out somehow, and she was like about to kill Cat because Xaden started coming into her Violet's head, and she was like, wait, what? And then she's like, she's using her powers. And she was like, I'm about to kill her. Xaden was there the whole time.
Yeah. And then I think somebody else calls it out, though. I think it was Imogen. I think she said, like, hey, she's using her power, right?
Maybe. I don't recall.
But whatever. Xaden pulls her away, right? And then where does he take her? To the throne room. Sits her on that throne.
It's about to go down. I'm like, dude.
And let me just say, my favorite quote of the book is, my house, my chair, my woman.
Yes, I am. Yes, I am.
Say, we're going to leave the rest of the scene to the readers to determine. Yeah, imagination.
Your imagination, because meet me in the truth. It's going down. It's going down. Meet me in the throne. It's going down. That is what was happening.
Great. That was the quote of the podcast. Meet me in the throne. It's going down. I'm dead.
So that happens. Gosh, there's just so much that we got to speed through.
I have my notes. Sawyer, how cute is he trying to win over Jacinia?
Oh my God, so cute. So he was, what did he want to learn? Signing. He wanted to learn how to sign. But he just wants to learn how to communicate with Jacinia. How cute.
Yes. Okay. So then basically they kind of figure out how to do the wards, but the Griffins are like, don't do it because we're going to lose all of our powers.
And then, okay, so let's talk about Dane a little bit, because Dane, he redeems himself again in part 2. So he starts helping Violet to translate, is apologizing to her.
And then Dane finds an error in her translation. And instead of it being blood, it is breath.
Fire, breath.
I thought you fucking knew it.
Dude, I can only... Dude, I can only remember so much.
You should have done the cliff notes, and then you know everything.
Whatever.
Okay. So then they delay the wards. Violet decides to delay the wards because of the Griffin riders losing their flyers losing their powers. And then I don't know how they get there, but you probably can enlighten us about the attack in the caves. Don't they do like some sort of scavenger hunt?
Well, no. Xaden comes back from the front and talks about how the Venom have overtaken another city. Go figure. Go freaking figure. And that they're heading towards Eurasia. And I'm like, okay, here we go. Here we go. I'm over it. Okay, we're going to stop part 2 right now. Part 2 of Arnflame is hefty. So I'm dividing part 2 into 2 parts. So this is part 1 of part 2 of Arnflame, and part 2 of part 2 will be released Thursday, June 13th. So we'll be back then for the rest of the episode. Remember,
today is booked.
And tomorrow isn't looking good either.